So we're back working on the Allis Chalmers M. So what I've been working on, if I can get that off, is I got a bunch done with my dipstick and transmission breather. And this is what I have. There's my dipstick down in there. It is a long one. There's a flat spot I put down in there for catching the oil. I think I'm going to put some cross hatching down through that flat spot that's in this round rod. I know it's a really big rod for a dipstick, but with vibration and everything, I didn't want to have an issue. And then this is a nut that I had cleaned up the inside threads on, welded it onto this other bigger bolt that we had turned, and then drilled a hole through the center, and then put two vent through holes through the side there. So what I think I'm going to end up doing yet is put one more hole down alongside the dipstick hole. So then that way, if any heat or anything can come up through there, goes through, it gets stopped by the washer. So if there's any splash, which I doubt there will be because there's like that much bolt it has to go through, but any oil can go back down in there. And then I have this washer that goes down in, it sits on a shoulder, right like that. Now it sits one specific way because I think I got a twist in this when I welded it, and I haven't decided what I want to do, if I want to try to bend it to stop that or just let it sit like that. And then when this screws on over the top, it actually prevents that from even popping up, so it can't go anywhere, and that's how it'll sit like that. So to check the transmission oil, all I do is unscrew this by hand and just pull this on up and check it. So I'm gonna take this out. I got a gasket underneath or a washer underneath it. Pull all this out and I'll punch that other hole in it, and then figure out maybe on getting this to where it'll spin 360 anyways, because that'll lock in like that. Which maybe I might want to do that so I don't have vibration on it or bouncing, but it kind of gets a little stiff. So I'll do a little bit of conjuring on it and see what I can do with it. I'm breaking lots of rules. I should put some lube in there. My bit's going to be long enough to get through. I might have to stop and adjust it down. It's still cutting pretty good. So I got the secondary hole punched in right next to it. And I know it's close, but I wanted to kind of keep it in there. And then I chamfered the holes. I think there's some Canadian gal says that that's what separates us from the animals. I'm not quite sure what she's talking about. Those Canadian animals must be a little bit different than our Montana animals. But I think they look nice, like most of her projects. So this is pretty much done on this side for going back in. There's the gasket. Like I said, I'm not worried about a lot for splash coming up because it has to transfer from up here to there. I mean, that's going to take a lot of splash to do it. So I'm confident that I should have enough vent there, considering the top of the hole for this vent breather is that big. So I know my holes are larger underneath. So the only thing I don't like about this is that it takes 1 5/16" wrench to tighten it on. Oops, sorry, there's fingers in the way. Amateur hour. So, and I'm confident that you could rebuild this thing with a 3/4 inch wrench and a 9/16, because that's what everything else is on this. So it takes an extra wrench to add oil to it, but not necessarily check it. Make sure that's good. So next step is I'm going to go over and figure out how I'm going to put some lines in that flat spot on this, just to kind of help hold some oil retention as you pull it out to check it. So I even got 2 little grooves in the back that I sent it through the lathe to put them in there. Oh, sorry. So I'll get something flat put in there. Thought chisel marks, but I don't want to impact on it, so I'll see what I can come up with. So I got some cross hatching put in there, or some X's. I did them with an old Farmer Secret. I think they turned out pretty good there. Should help retain the oil to help show the level a little bit more accurate. But it comes down to using a good old-fashioned hacksaw. Just cook my time nice and slow and steady and put them in. So I got it all cleaned up, and let's go see how it looks with oil in them. This is probably the most over-engineered transmission breather dipstick combo ever done. So I bent that around, so that spins around beautifully all the way now. So I like that. Still kind of snug. And you can see the oil is retained in there very well. So in order to figure out my depth, is I went to the book and I see that I figured out how much oil it takes in the transmission, in the rear end, filled it up, which is 3 gallons, if I remember right, put it in there, and then kind of got all this put together, and then just started measuring, put the stick down there, and put a tape measure down there, and started just measuring it on out. And then that way I saw where it was at, and just started doing my measurements to put it so I know that this is level, it's sitting in the shop, and it has the correct amount of oil in there. Worst case scenario, if I need to go over full because I have hills here, then I can always do that. But I was afraid of getting too full because then it might push against the seals that go to the final drives, and I didn't know into these housings back here, and I didn't want to have excessive oil leaking out of them. So that was kind of my thoughts on that. But I think that turned out pretty good. I got a quick way to check my transmission and rear end oil on it, be able to see it with that cross hatching, and I think that kind of turned out pretty good on it. So I'm going to just wrap up this short video here. I know it's not very long, didn't do a lot, but it's already late and kind of cold, so I'll pick up some hardware for putting all the metal back on the sides. I'm going to try to press as much of it straight as I can. Try to reuse as much as I can, but I got a lot of stress cracks and welding I got to do, and a lot of it, which is to be expected. So I'm going to get all new grade 8 hardware. I'm not going to do fine thread, but I am going to do locking nuts on there with washers. Instead of lock washers, there'll be locking nuts, so it should help seal out some elements out of the threads too a little bit. But I'm going to wrap her up, call her a night. Thanks for watching.